couple people are going to say a few words. I'm going to begin, but Drew, all those hand salutes you just got were all for the thank yous that you passed around like nothing throughout your lifetime. In honor of Drew, I'm going to start with some thank yous. To his family, Laura, Rochelle, Courtney, Carissa, Jordan, Natalie, we say thank you for sharing Drew with us. He has had a profound influence and effect on us, and we are better people for knowing him. To all those that have shown their support over this past week, worked behind the scenes, some people don't like to take credit for it, and supported us through this process, whether you donated a meal, a text, a hug, phoned a friend, sent flowers, tipped your hat in a procession. It was all noticed and very much appreciated. It's comforting knowing that we weren't going through this alone. We say thank you. To the brave members of the Chicago Fire Department that went to work that night and respond to unknown dangerous situations each and every day, we are proud to work alongside you. We say thank you. To the fine members of the CPD who risked their lives trying to keep others safe, thank you for all your support through these difficult times. We say thank you. To the amazing doctors, nurses, and first responders who fought so hard to give Drew a fighting chance. We know you represent all those across the country who tirelessly give of themselves to help those in need. We say thank you. To those that I'm leaving out, we say thank you. Please bear with us as we get through this. While our minds are numb and our hearts are broken, we are privileged to be here today to honor and represent a person that was truly loved by many. Who was Drew? We knew him as a genuine, funny, big-hearted, thoughtful, hardworking, gentle, and caring person. If you took them all in, and many more, mixed them all together, you caught a glimpse of what was in his soul. He was a great husband, son, brother, doggy daddy, uncle, friend, and firefighter. He made an impression on all those he came in contact with in his meaningful 14-year career. Our paths first crossed early in his career. I don't have this written down, so I'm going to get through this. He was detailed as a candidate, and I was detailed, and there was another fireman who I think might have been a drill instructor. Drew was riding along with the Ambos. He was still assigned to the academy, and he came in, and this guy looks at him, and he goes, "Who are you?" "Candidate Firefighter Price, sir." He goes, "Hey, take it easy." He goes, "You're not at the academy anymore." He goes, "You're in the firehouse." He goes, "So grab a bottle of water, get yourself something to drink." So Drew goes to grab a bottle of water, and this guy, and I'm going to clean this up, this guy goes, "You gotta be kidding me. These thieving candidates are grabbing our water." And Drew puts the water back, and he was befuddled, and I'm sitting there like, okay, this guy's pretty serious, And then the guy goes, "No, I'm just kidding. Come on, you got to have thick skin to be in the firehouse." He goes, "Take it easy and wait for the guys to get here. They'll tell you what to do." So Drew goes to sit down, and this guy goes, "Look at these lazy candidates. Sitting down on the job. They haven't even been in the firehouse for 5 minutes." Drew springs up. He looks around like, what am I doing? What's going on? This guy, well, he was told to do something. He did it, got yelled at for doing it, and then he did it again. It was at that point in time that I knew Drew was not only going to be able to fit in the firehouse, but he was going to be a great fireman. Drew was active, fit, and always willing to help out. Our paths crossed again not long after, as we both sort of volunteered to join the CFD Blaze football team. One of us was going to coach and the other one was going to play. I'll try and let you figure out who did what. I came to learn that Drew had never played football before. It was a bit intriguing to me because football isn't the sport that people take up later in life normally. But he had this love for it and he wanted to get involved. To him, it was a new adventure, an opportunity to meet other guys on the job. And I've seen so many familiar faces from that team that I haven't seen in a long time. But that team really did bring a lot of people together that you might not have ever met in your whole career on the fire department. And I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful for getting involved with that. So while his football IQ was a bit behind, his determination and willingness to work was not. He asked questions all the time, came to practice all the time. A lot of guys who are here know that we went from 60 down to 9 some days, but Drew was always there. He approached every practice and game as a new challenge, set his mind to it, and succeeded. He played every special team. A lot of the time, if guys didn't want to play special teams, Drew would jump in. He wanted to just do whatever he could to help out. Became a defensive back. There might be some pictures floating around of him flying around the field with his hair extensions in. That's a story for another time. After a couple seasons, I watched him become the guy that was helping the new guys out. What a progression. After every game, I'd give Drew a handshake and a hug, pay him a compliment. Nice tackle, good coverage, great interception. No matter what, Drew would always respond with, "You did a good job today." Again, being thankful for others. Wow. I watched that determination transition into the firehouse. Drew and I started working together on Truck 44. Drew always tried to do the right thing. He had pride. He worked at making himself a better fireman. He was invested. He listened to the senior guys and genuinely took interest in how to do things. You never had to ask him if he did his morning checks, if he had his uniform, if he started the saws, washed the rig, or did the inventory. He didn't need to be reminded. He did it. He eventually became a senior guy and #1 driver. That was through hard work. He earned that spot. Normally, some of those other responsibilities get kicked down to the younger guys. Drew kept doing them. He wanted to lead by example. He made sure that rig was squared away each and every day that he was there. You didn't have to dig deep to see who Drew really was. He wrote it, he said it, he showed it. He expressed it in every text or every conversation. He let you know in many pictures. His mahalo was being grateful that he was with you. Grateful, being in the moment. Grateful for all these small little things that happen in life that most of us take for granted. What a life to live where you can actually recognize and appreciate and be grateful for everything that's happening at the moment it happens. Every picture Drew was in, he would hold up that hand sign. I didn't know what that meant. I thought it was more mahalo stuff. And to be honest, my simple mind went to, what part of Indiana are the Hawaiians living in? But I finally looked it up. The shaka sign, this, is used to share aloha or love. It's given warmly to friends and strangers as a symbol of gratitude or thank you. The shaka is rarely if ever used in a sarcastic manner. It's kept sincere and pure, just as it should be. Sincere and pure. To me, that's who Drew was. We will rebound. We will eventually recover. But most importantly, we will always remember Drew for who he is and was. My guy, I hope you have big waves to catch, bright sunshine coming down on you, and a nice warm breeze at your back. I know you got your hat on backwards with your sunglasses on and a nice big smile on your face, just enjoying it. May you rest easy now, my brother. Take it all in and just chill until we meet again. Mahalo, mahalo.
My name is Dustin Jeffers, known as Dusty throughout the fire department. Please bear with me. I was one of the lucky ones that got to meet Drew about 10 years ago. He was my instructor in the academy. A few weeks into the academy, my family was in town and they needed to use my car for the day. I was sitting across the street waiting in the Jewel parking lot when Drew pulled up and said, "Mr. Jeffers, can I give you a ride?" I was so nervous that I've only known him as my instructor. So I said, "No, thank you." I didn't know if it was some kind of setup or a new kid prank. A few days later, I realized it wasn't. Got his number and sent him a text to him that I'm sure started with, "Instructor, Mr. Price." I was so nervous. This is where our friendship began. It would take a lifetime to tell all the stories about our short 10 years of friendship. If anyone knew Drew, you knew the DP language. Drew had his own language, especially in text messages. He actually said to me, he never liked to use the letter I. So he would always use it as the letter Y instead, like, L-Y-K-E. I would like to think he never liked the letter I because everything in his life was about others. He was always complimenting people and doing small things for others. He was truly selfless. Also, if you knew Drew, you knew he was also the ultimate jokester of the firehouse. Drew was known for laying under your bed for a very long time, waiting for you to come in the room just to get a good scare. He was committed that way. I've actually hid in his locker many a times waiting for him to open it so I can jump out and scare him. Over the last couple years or so, he would be my go-to guy for venting. I think I became his as well. We would talk things out, get it off our chest, and then he would turn it around and say, "Now let's turn that into a positive." He always wanted to find a way to be happy and shift everything to positive. Every morning before shift, first text I ever got was Drew asking if I needed coffee. Cold brew, actually, not just coffee. A few shifts ago, I was working in another house, Engine 56, and he texted me asking me if I needed Starbucks. I was riding my bike that morning so I did not get the text until I got to the firehouse. He was texting me all day saying that he felt bad, and he was waiting at Starbucks that morning for me to respond, and I didn't. So he got his own coffee and left. He felt bad because he thought he should have gotten me coffee and didn't. That's just how Drew is. He would feel bad about me not even answering if I wanted coffee that morning. I wasn't working at the same house, so he completely went out of his way for me. That was Drew. Another thing I loved about Drew is every time you see him, whether you spent 5 minutes, 5 hours, or all day, he would instantly send you a text as soon as he got in the car telling you how great it was to see you. The day before his final shift on Saturday, him and Laura went to Costco, and he sent me a picture of the Christmas plant that they were getting for their house and asked if I wanted him to get me one also because they were so beautiful. I said sure, and him and Laura came by and dropped it off before they went home. We stood out front, Drew, Laura, me, my wife, and my 3-year-old son, and just talked. My son couldn't believe that he had another vehicle besides the fire truck and couldn't understand why he couldn't drive it over to our house to deliver the Christmas. I'm so thankful for that Christmas plant visit. It was the last time I saw him in person and got to hug both him and Lara. A day I will never forget. Now on to Costco. Both of our wives work during the day, so Drew and I always joke that we were the husband and wife taking pictures of Christmas plants or protein bars or anything we shot we thought we should share. And we'd buy each other for our Costco visits. The guys at the firehouse would always ask where my husband was after a day off and what we did that weekend because we had just a genuine bond. I know Drew also cherished his bond with his family as well. Recently, Drew shared with me details on his recent trip that him and Jordan took to Maine. I actually told my wife recently I want to find a way to get invited to that trip next year. It sounded like such a fun and special trip of them two. One of my favorite, most recent memories that I'll cherish forever was on Marathon Day this year. I've ran the Chicago Marathon the last few years, and every year, Drew would make a sign and hold it up for me. This year, a few of the guys from the house and Drew were going to come out and watch me. At the last minute, none of the guys could make it, but Drew was dedicated. He brought a chair, a sign, and his Starbucks, and sat in that chair for over 2 hours waiting to see me for 15 seconds. It's the type of guy Drew was. So today, I challenge you all to think about 2 traits, 2 words that you would use to describe Drew. I want you to take those 2 words and bring them into your daily life. Let's make this world, how Drew saw it, a beautiful and a better place. Mahalo, brah.
Good morning. My name is John Herring. Currently the captain on Truck 44. Pat Gallagher, who just spoke recently, was the captain prior to me. And I was very fortunate to come to this truck and already work with Drew who had been working with Drew for a long time. I'd like to tell you a little story about Drew, and as Dusty just said, he truly had his own language. One of the things he would say when he met us in the morning, he would call us all my guy. And it was something that I'd only heard Drew say. So here would be a typical morning at the firehouse. As you've already heard, Drew would normally be the first one there. No matter how early we would try to get there, Drew would always be there before everyone else. My morning would start, "Good morning, my guy," he would say to me. And that was every morning. It normally took place in the front of the fire truck as we were putting ourselves in service. It was always accompanied by a smile and a look that only Drew possessed. It wasn't a judging look, but a look at you to make sure that you were okay. He would want to know how your previous days were since you last worked, and this would continue until he was satisfied with the details, and he would then move on to someone else. I would now hear him for the next hour say, "Good morning, my guy," throughout the rest of the shift, and you'd hear the sounds of hugs being given out. Days at the firehouse were always easy with Drew. As you have already heard, Drew was the hardest working fireman among us, and he took so much pride in everything. But what made Drew uniquely special was his cool, fun, always happy, and just chill personality. He had a way of making everyone around him happier. The days that Drew was on furlough or on vacation, there was always a notice in the firehouse that he wasn't there. We would inevitably those days end up talking about Drew in our normal conversation, and it would usually follow with a good laugh. As you have heard, Drew was the driver of Truck 44 and the senior member when I arrived. And for those that don't know, this is the most important on the truck, the most important position. It's a position of leadership and respect. And as you have heard, he took all of that with so much pride. He was patient and compassionate, and he took the time to work with his coworkers and the public. He took so much pride in driving that truck. Sometimes we would get back from a call, and he would apologize to me, and he'd say, "I'm sorry." I'd say, "Drew, what are you sorry for?" And he'd say, "Well, I should have taken this route or that route." To be honest, most of the time I didn't even know. He just found that it was such an important thing for him to do. He would leave the truck, he'd go look at our wall, which is a giant map, and he'd study it. And it was something that only I saw Drew do. "Drew, you were the best driver I've ever had. Thank you for always getting us to where we needed to go safely." The time inside the fire truck is usually a bonding moment for the members of the company. Drew and I would sit in the front, and the rest of the guys would be in the back. We would have our own conversations going. The fire truck's a loud place. That is where Drew would tell me about Laura and their wonderful life, their dogs, and their next wonderful trip. He would tell me about his family, Jordan and Courtney and Carissa and Natalie, and his mom and all his nieces and nephews. Like parents on a road trip, we would be listening to the chatter in the back. It was normally Dan and Will, Paul, Alex, and Frank, Tony, and Eddie, and Carlos. We were a lucky group with a lot of laughing and a lot of joking, no matter the time of day, no matter the stresses of the job. On our truck, Drew would see civilians waving all the time, and he would always return it with the Shaka Mahala. To this day, he would get the biggest smile as we would drive down the street, and the kids, before Drew got a chance, would be giving this out to us. There's a generation of kids in Lincoln Park right now that give that sign to Truck 44 all the time. The night of November 12th was the last night we would work together. Drew had the unfortunate duty of having the watch, which means he would be up the remainder of the night from approximately 10 o'clock on until the next morning. It was a normal night at Engine 55 and Truck 44, like many others. We heard Engine 55 go out on a few medical calls early, and then it was the truck's turn for a civilian assist or a well-being check. We were a lucky crew, as even though those aren't the most exciting calls, we laughed that night. You wouldn't imagine how many people don't wear the appropriate clothing at night. We returned around 5 o'clock in the morning to the firehouse, and we began to prepare to go home. At approximately 5:30, we were dispatched to a fire on the 2400 block of Lincoln Avenue. When we arrived on scene, there was smoke in the air and a civilian out front directing the chief to the rear as something I would later find out. Drew put Truck 44's main to work without hesitation. The aerial ladder was placed to the roof, and he proceeded up the aerial with Firefighter Mora to begin what's known as vertical ventilation. As they arrived to the roof and prepared to go to work, Drew stopped Alex, pointed out the light shafts, looked at the sunrise coming up with the skyline behind him. He told Firefighter Mora, "Mahala, brah, let's get to work." Drew always took time to see the best parts of life, the parts that many of us never noticed. Drew, you are very, very special. So one last time, good morning, my guy. Your brothers and sisters from Truck 44 and Engine 55 miss you and love you. Thank you for being a wonderful person, and thank you for being part of our lives. Now catch that big wave, enjoy that sunrise, and as the chief already said, just chill. Drew, we're going to be all right. We'll see you soon someday.
Hello, I'm Carlos Gonzalez. All right. It's March 18, 2021, my first day at Engine 55. I'm nervous. I walk in, and who's the first person I see? Drew Price. We introduce ourselves. He shows me around the house, and we fast forward 24 hours later. Day one is completed. Now that was March 18. On March 19, I received a text, barely making it into my car. Shift just ended, and it reads, "It's Drew Price," with his signature, hang loose. "Keep up the good work. Good working with you. Good working with you yesterday and to many more. It meant a lot to me. I didn't know it then, but it was the beginning of a special bond. And that was just one text of many, many, many messages between Drew and I. At this moment, I'd like to share a few examples of what an incredible man Drew was. Drew once texted me, "I pride myself in honesty, being humble, and treating people with respect, even though they may not deserve it." Those were morals that he lived by, and I respect it. Another one was, "Ever have a question about anything? I got you. If I don't know the answer, we will figure it out together." If he saw potential in you, he wanted you to succeed, and he took the time to help you. Another text. "Better check under your bed for the monsters." In which I responded, "Scared the hell out of me." As Dusty said, he liked to keep the firehouse fun. If he wasn't hiding underneath your bed, you better watch it going around the corner. It's all fun and games till it's 3 in the morning. One day I sent him a picture. I was walking and I noticed on a building nearby that there was a tagging that said Drew. Took a picture and I wrote, "This you?" In which he replied, "Yeah, let you know I'm always watching out for my guy." And then he said it was like his Batman call sign. I believed him. Not that he tagged that, but that he was always watching out for us like a big brother. Sorry. Those of you who knew Drew knew he loved football. Whether it was Thursday, Sunday, or Monday, if football was on, he wanted to watch. One day I knew one of his fantasy football quarterbacks was playing, so I texted him, "Hey, just got a touchdown." In which he responded, "Oh, hells yeah. Larber, I just wanted to watch Narcos. Just missed it. That sucks." Mahalo for the heads up, though. For this man to miss football because he rather make his wife happy, now that was love. He loved you very much. All right. Drew, even though you're gone, we're still a team. And just like your Batman call sign, I know you're watching over us. Engine 55, Truck 44, Battalion 12, this shift is special. Lara, we're here for you. Drew, we love you, brother. Rest in paradise till we meet again. Mahalo.